Late breaking news. Dateline Arlington, Virginia. Here now the news. On August 17, 2017, just 4 days after the tragic events in Charlottesville, when city and state officials encouraged protesters with opposing views confront demonstrators in that Virginia city exercising their free speech right to preserve a memorial to a Virginia icon, Arlington Public School Board Chairman Barbara Caninen announced a timely decision to review the naming policy for school facilities. Amazingly, just 4 days the tragedy that left 3 persons dead, including 2 law enforcement officers who were casualties to accidents while engaged in performing security for the event. A total of 11 people appeared before the Arlington Public School Board to speak during the public comment period, but it has been denied that there was any effort on the part of party leaders and the school board to orchestrate the event. In an attempt to answer some of the lingering questions, let's go back to the day of that historic meeting to ask first, why did you want to change the name of Washington Lee High School? Cue tape, but I am not a white supremacist.
Well, ladies and gentlemen of the school board, members of the community, I don't actually have a prepared statement because this is a very last minute thing. But I do want to echo what the other people said. I do request that the school board initiate a process to change the name of Washington and Lee High School. The school was built in 1924 and opened its doors in 1925, which was the height of Jim Crow. And the name Robert E. Lee was deliberately chosen as part of the Lost Cause iconography to represent sort of white supremacy forever and to reinforce that message to African American and other minority communities. That was, the Arlington of the past. That was Arlington.
These issues regarding racial tension appear to be very concerning. There is no evidence that this speaker has any authoritative regarding the temper and mood of the times, but perhaps this professor of history can help to uncover the truth behind how the school was named. Cue tape, Professor of History.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak this evening. I'm not with Indivisible Arlington, but I'm glad to hear that they came as well. My name is Mary Beth Matthews, and I'm a historian and college professor. My daughter graduated in June from Washington Lee High School, and it's that name change I'd like to address this evening. I strongly urge Arlington County School Board to change the name of the high school to something more inclusive and appropriate. Washington Lee was named in 1925, on July 31st to be precise, at a school board meeting much like this one. How do I know? Because I spent some time down the street at the Center for Local History at the Central Library here at Arlington and read the minute book for the 1920s. During the years leading up to the name, as the school board was planning the school, it was referred to as Central High School, and its construction suffered from setbacks, including financial difficulties and infrastructure issues. They spent some time, for example, figuring out where to dig the well, as well as community opposition to building the school. The minutes indicate that the local leaders advised the School Federation of Arlington County to endorse the name Washington Lee.
You appear to be stating, Professor, that race had nothing to do with the naming of Washington Lee High School at all in 1925, but rather that there was a business expectancy, as opposed to a purely political one. So, can anyone identify for the community exactly who the promoters of changing the name of Washington Lee High School are in the present age? Cue tape, Violently South.
Our next speaker is Ryan Sims.
Thank you. The time has come to remove the name of Robert E. Lee from Washington Lee High School. The legacy of General Lee is clear. An avowed white supremacist, he took up arms against the United States to preserve the institution of slavery. The purpose of deploying Lee's name in the public sphere from Reconstruction through the end of Jim Crow is no less ambiguous. The veneration of Confederate icons throughout the South ensured every citizen understood that racist local and state institutions remained committed to denying the basic rights of African Americans, often violently so. Today,
Sir, we have no evidence that you are a historian either, nor any evidence that you have reviewed the historical records of the school board meeting minutes as the professor had said that she had done. Are you not aware that in 1926, 1 year after Washington Lee High School opened its doors, the Arlington Public School Board minutes explicitly state that they rejected a request from the Ku Klux Klan to host a meeting in the auditorium of the high school that had the Confederate general's name. That fact does not appear to be of any consequence to you. Are there any African Americans to come forward to address this issue of concern, since they appear to be the parties who might be most aggrieved by an offensive name, even if not of a threshold of irreparable injury? Cue tape, National Socialist Party.
Good evening. I'm the father of 3 graduates of the Arlington Public School System, including Washington Lee, and I love Washington Lee. I think it's done just a terrific job of educating our kids. And I'm very proud of you and of your predecessors and I've no doubt of your successors for your stewardship of this jewel that is the Arlington Public School System. I have no doubt that the criteria that you described earlier, Chairman, that you'll be developing will be terrific and will actually be a national model. And that the exercise that you'll go through will have been a really important exercise and valuable for Arlington for years to come and really probably for the rest of the country in a lot of ways.
Sir, I do not believe that you are actually black, but your national model commentary and praise sound very much like you are a big fan of Barbara Caninen, not to suggest that she influenced your decision to appear. Cue tape, I love my swastika.
I'd like to share with you 2 thoughts. My father was from India. In India, there's a 5,000-year-old symbol. It's the swastika. You go to India. It's a symbol in India of peace, harmony, well-being. It's a very beautiful symbol in that context. As much as I would love to use that symbol in my home to reflect the beauty and the value of it in my father's country, I obviously can't do that.
Ben Kingsley, it is wonderful that you love your swastika, but for the record it would be appreciated if the community might hear some black voices on this issue of great community concern. Cue tape, anticipation.
Our next speaker is Mark Bielor.
While he's coming up, I did forget to mention if you want to applaud, but we prefer not to have that so that we can move on quickly. A gesture like this works really well. It's very visible to everyone. Thank you.
Hi, Mark Beeler. I'm with Indivisible Arlington. The tragic events of this week have brought to the fore the anticipated.
I apologize, Mr. Indivisible, but a black shirt does not a black man make, and your anticipation comments are very disturbing. Are there any others who can speak for the black people of Arlington? Cue tape, daughter of the Confederacy.
Chair Cannon and board members, Dr. Murphy, fellow citizens, thank you for this opportunity to urge you to recognize that now is the time to rename Washington Lee High School to undo the honor given to Robert E. Lee. Although I am not a native Virginian, I am a daughter of the South. I grew up in suburban Atlanta, attended William and Mary, and have been an Arlington resident since 1989, proud parent of a Yorktown graduate. 2 of my great-grandfathers on my mother's side held enslaved people in Texas and Tennessee. Another great-grandfather on my father's side was wounded during the siege of Petersburg as a soldier with the 43rd Alabama Infantry. So I know the history of the cause that Lee fought for, but I hold no allegiance to it. It was a lost cause from the beginning because it denied the fundamental claim of every person to be recognized as a full human being with liberty. No society should honor with school and street names those who threatened that most cherished value, as Robert E. Lee did when he broke his U.S. Army oath in order to serve the Confederacy. We Arlingtonians have a duty here because we know our history, not because we want to erase or hide it.
Miss Scarlett, do you personally give a damn about the achievement gap in Arlington public schools that has persisted historically since the passage of the 14th Amendment in 1868 or the 5 years after the decision by the Supreme Court in Brown v. Board of Education in 1954 that it took the school board to desegregate with all deliberate speed? Okay, we know, Miss Scarlett. You will not starve, again. Grab a Kleenex. Your nose might be running. Are there any aggrieved black persons with irreparable harm? Cue tape, Miss Ryan.
move on to the next.
Next.
Thanks for the gestures.
Speaker is Liz Ryan. Not sure if she made it. You have her statement? Okay.
This is Liz Ryan's statement. Dear Arlington School Board members, as an Arlington resident and a neighbor of Washington Lee High School, I respectfully request that you immediately initiate actions to change the name of Washington Lee High School to remove Lee from the name of the school. For far too long, relics of Confederacy and our tragic legacy of chattel slavery have been allowed to stand in Arlington and elsewhere in our state. This has been harmful to our community and upholds white.
Okay. Slavery was terrible, but why is someone fetching this black child to speak on their behalf? Why, when they are calling for Miss Ryan, do we find a young black man coming up to save the Private Ryan? Is missing Ryan an African American? Thank you for appearing, young black man, but where did you get this letter? Cue tape, across the street.
With you on how to potentially move this kind of process forward. Sincerely, Liz Ryan. She lives across the street.
I am confident that this is not orchestrated, but are there any African Americans who came to speak for themselves just 4 days after the tragedy in Charlottesville? This does not compute. Cue tape, I feel oppressed.
Hello. I'm a student at Washington Lee High School. I'm going into my senior year. I think that we should get rid of the Lee part of Washington Lee. I think that the name of the school should reflect the students in the school. I think that it's important to remember history, but we don't need to celebrate an oppressor. Every day I walk by at least 2 or 3 portraits of a Confederate general in my own school. I think as a place of education and inclusivity and diversity that this is inappropriate and unacceptable. It's just my thank you.
Ma'am, perhaps it is a nervous problem like that very peculiar interpretive dancing we had the opportunity to witness, but do you always smile when you feel oppressed? Are there any seriously aggrieved African Americans at this meeting? Cue tape, W&L sucks.
Our next speaker is Jisun Zaman.
Hi, members of the board and superintendent. I was going to speak, but this is a former alumni of Arlington, so I'm going to cede my floor to him.
To begin, I must apologize for the impression I was speaking on the agenda item. I'm speaking on a non-agenda item. And I must particularly apologize because I'm a Yorktown graduate, and I stand present by the walls of my mortal enemy, W&L High School. So I'll refrain from hollering Yorktown rules. W&L sucks.
Okay, young man. Now, tell us how you really feel. Cue tape, black acting school.
Make no mistake that there is nothing inherently sinister in the word. Detached from the human element, it is kept to label things as good as bad, appropriate or inappropriate, right or wrong. Nothing truly justifies the sound which remains taboo or which holds no weight whatsoever. Okay. Words can dictate wars or peace, that the mountains move, that the oceans dry, signify the just and the unjust. So in that Lee, referring to Confederate Army of Northern Virginia General Robert Edward Lee, slave owner, so beholden to our great state, be tangled in the...
Why is this actor speaking for the black kid who read the letter from the white girl who lives across the street? This is very confusing. Did you write this speech, sir? Most people do not read their editorial comments. Cue tape, holds no weight.
No weight whatsoever. Okay. Words can...
Are you friends with anyone on the school board? Did anyone influence you to appear on this evening, and why did you believe that you were supposed to be addressing an agenda item, as opposed to a non-agenda item? Are non-agenda items billed at a lesser rate, or not eligible for SAG card credit? Cue tape, skip.
Skip. Okay.
No comment. We have no more questions for you, sir. You can leave. Cue tape, Caninen.
towards change. It may be necessary or unnecessary.
Thank you very much. We do need to be consistent with the amount of time people have. We really wanted to hear the end. You can submit written comments. If you don't have them today, you can email us. Thank you.
So, there you have it, folks. Comments from August 17, 2017, 4 days after the Charlottesville tragedy, and, in this reporter's unbiased opinion, there is absolutely no evidence that anyone colluded or conspired to orchestrate this event that is certain to become a national model as anticipated. And, remember, you were there. Back to you in the studio, Mo.
Before I even mention it,
Mo.
Is there anyone who thought they signed up online that we didn't, whose name didn't come up?
I thought I had signed up, but.
On non-agenda?
Yes, it was on non-agenda.
Do you want to go ahead and come up?
Yes, I will.
Thank you. And please just announce your name, since we don't have a record at the moment.
My name is Valerie Smith, and I just. My name is Valerie Smith, and I am a grandparent of 2 Arlington County students. They were Wakefield High School. I have one who's a graduate and one who is a potential graduate. And my concern that I had wanted to have addressed was the at-risk students. And the question that I wish to raise to this board.
Do you mind? I think you might be signed up under academic performance update.
Okay, all right.
Do you think that's the case? Yeah, I think you're the next item.
I'm the next, okay.
Actually, yes, yes. Thank you so much.
This advertisement was authorized by Mike Webb.